something that was also beautifully shot was Terry Gilliam's The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. Now, I know that you saw this in theaters last week. I watched it on a computer this weekend. Um, very interesting film with a lot of history leading up to it. Maybe you can give the people a quick breakdown of some of the weirdness and history leading up to the making of this.
Yeah, so I don't want to go too deep on that. There's a great Vulture piece called The Man Who Almost Was Killed by Don Quixote. It's this long Terry Gilliam profile from like 2 weeks ago, and it basically explains the whole story in a really great way. But Terry Gilliam, as we know, is a acclaimed UK director, famous for being part of Monty Python, co-directing Monty Python The Holy Grail, also known for 12 Monkeys, The Fisher King, etc. He's pretty old now. And he's known for his movies. I think quality-wise, they're kind of up and down overall, but he has his own unique style, his own unique worldview, we'll say. And he's wanted to make The Man Who Killed Don Quixote this story about, obviously, the famous tale from Cervantes. And he originally got the first bit of financing for this movie back in 1989. And he went through all these hoops to make this movie. They actually went to shoot it in 2001 in Spain with this guy, Jean Rochefort, this famous French actor, as well as Johnny Depp, a young Johnny Depp.
Yep.
And the shoot was famously horrible, and it failed, and they had to stop making the movie. And they actually made a documentary called Lost in La Mancha about the failed shoot. It's legendary, almost like Apocalypse Now level, hell, except they didn't actually finish the movie. So it's quite the story. Then he didn't really stop throughout the past, decade and a half since. And he finally got it together, just getting financing here and there. It's really fascinating. And Amazon actually came in at the last minute, was going to help distribute it. Then they ended up bailing on him last year because one of these producers was suing for more credit and finance, and they're going to keep it from Cannes. And it's a really sad story because Terry finally got this movie financed and he got it made, and now some guy's going to stop him from showing it at the film festival. And then Amazon backs out on him. So thus I had to see it in a Fathom event, a one night only. And to their credit, Fathom events have this basically everywhere from what I could tell. And now it's just going to be in a few more screenings, I think, here and there throughout the major cities. And then I'm soon they'll sell it to some service. Eventually, there's no news on that. I don't think it'll be on Amazon now, given how they treated him. But
no,
quite the story. I encourage everyone to check it out because I think the story really frames how you watch this movie, because you can't help but think about the meta narrative to it, But I mean, what did you think of the movie itself? It's a long movie and it's quite indulgent, like a lot of Gilliam's work. But I mean, what did you think of it overall?
I thought it was pretty good. It was definitely long. It bored me at some parts. I felt like it got a bit repetitive in terms of the script and some of the things happening. There's only so many times I can see Jonathan Pryce being crazy old Don Quixote and Toby, played by Adam Driver, having to be no, don't you understand? This isn't what's going on. It was just okay, you've broken my will. I get that this guy is Don Quixote. I can see where this is going. Let's just get there. Also, I'm sure that there's a lot of metaphor and symbolism and probably parallels to other stories that I just either don't catch, or maybe I would just need to do more reading on. But I didn't find it to be super engaging. I found that third act to just be absolutely absurd, and that was by far my favorite part. But then, whenever they get to that Russian oligarch's house, or I guess compound or whatever it is, that's when things really seem to take off for me.
Right.
Yeah, just some ridiculous place. And I think I described it to you as a fever dream. It's just you don't know what's real, what's actually going on. It's pretty intense. But overall, for a movie that had all these problems and he's been trying to make for so long, I thought it came out pretty well. Did you enjoy this movie though?
I did. The thing is, I actually never watched the trailer for this. I didn't actually know the story really. I just knew the story of the movie that he made. So I kind of went in not really knowing what to expect beyond knowing the general story of the actual Don Quixote book and whatnot. And when it starts, Toby is this wealthy, successful commercial director, I guess you could say. and
Mm-hmm.
he's in Spain on the shoot. It doesn't seem to be going well. But the thing is, like, Fathom Events often do like featurettes and stuff at the start of their screenings. So I thought, like, because I got there like a second late, and they usually don't have previews. So I was like, is this the movie? Like, is Adam Driver actually is that his character? Because like it gets really meta, and then like Adam Driver, Toby, he sees his original student film, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, and I'm like, wait, am I watching the feature? Or am I watching some behind the scenes like skit they made? I was like initially really confused about what I was watching. Um, but overall, I found it really amusing. I think you're right. There's a lot of repetitive scenes. I think ultimately the message, like, it's a really whimsical movie, and I think the message is kind of fumbled a little bit. It's a little messy.
Yeah.
They made this movie a little tighter. I think you could have maybe focused in on that, but I don't know how much that was really in mind. Honestly, like they did shoot this in Spain. I think it looks really cool. And that third act setting that you mentioned, like that like castle from the douchey Russian dude, looked really cool as well. I saw some critiques about the treatment of women in the film. They're usually need to be saved or sex crazed. It's a little backward view of some sort. It sounds like an old white dude to me. Made the movie
Sure.
make sense. But I thought Driver was really good, both in the beginning when he's just kind of being this douchey Hollywood type, and then putting up with Don Quixote, and then kind of changing and seeing the light, quote unquote, at the end. I like Driver's performance. I think the success of the movie is largely based on what Driver can do just to elevate material. He elevated lots of things he do. And I mean, if Johnny Depp was in this now, knowing what we know about how Johnny Depp is these days, I don't think it would have worked as well. No question.
I couldn't even really see Johnny Depp doing as good of a job back then. It just seems like Driver has that like perfect. He's able to walk that line between being douchey and goofy in such a genuine way that I can't really think of another actor who could have played that part any better. I think he was by far the best part of the movie for me. Also, just really well shot, and like it was obviously shot over in Europe. I didn't check if it was actually in Spain or not, but just really beautiful. The whole countryside and everything about it, I thought was really well done. And seeing like the little towns there that they go into, I thought was also really cool and really well done. So. Right. Also, Adam Driver can look young. Like he looked like a kid in the flashback scenes, which I was kind of surprised at.
I saw this brought up, and I think it's a good point. The movie is quite meta. I mean, Toby's reflecting on his first student film that he made for no money back in the day, right? And it's the story of this movie ultimately is how it got made. Quite meta, but also I think there's almost a missed opportunity, because if there was more commentary about how Toby's little movie changed this poor town in the Spanish countryside, I think you could have maybe had a more profound message about how art affects things and whatnot. But they didn't quite go down that road. They just kind of acknowledged it and moved on. But yeah, I mean, I would recommend this just because it's unlike most things you would watch. It's a Gilliam film at the end of the day. And because it's a Gilliam film, it's up and down.